Did you lose your childhood? Or did it lose you? Have you ever been asked about your childhood and felt your mind go strangely blank? Not because something horrific happened, not because nothing happened, but because when you try to remember being a kid, you mostly remember being responsible. You remember worrying, managing, holding things together, almost like you skipped from age 8 to 28. If that feels familiar, stay with me, because today we're talking about the quiet children, the strong ones, the mature for their age, kids who were praised for being easy, while carrying things no child should have to carry. The day childhood ended without anyone noticing. Sometimes childhood doesn't end with a dramatic explosion. It ends quietly. It ends the first time you make dinner for your siblings at 9 years old. It ends the day you become your parents' emotional referee. It ends when you learn to read tension in a room before you learn long division. Psychologists have a word for this: parentification. Researchers like Dr. Lisa M. Hooper describe it as a role reversal, where a child takes on responsibilities that belong to adults. But that clinical definition doesn't capture the weight of it. It doesn't capture what it feels like to be small and responsible for keeping everything from falling apart. Because what looks like maturity from the outside is often just a nervous system stuck in survival mode. And here's the part nobody tells you. That survival mode doesn't turn off when you grow up. The superpowers that cost you. If you grew up too fast, you probably developed some impressive skills. You can read people instantly. You anticipate needs before they're spoken. You stay calm in chaos. You solve problems quickly. You're the reliable one, the steady one, the one everyone calls during a crisis. And the world rewards that. Teachers loved you. Bosses value you. Friends depend on you. But those superpowers came with a hidden price tag. Because the same child who learned to handle everything also learned that their own needs came last. Why the smallest things feel the hardest. Here's something fascinating. People who grew up too fast can handle major life crises with shocking composure. Breakups, job loss, family emergencies. You manage. But asking for help, resting without guilt, being carefree or silly, that feels uncomfortable, almost unsafe. Because early on, you learned one unspoken rule. If I don't hold it together, everything falls apart. That wasn't just a belief. It became your operating system. And that system is still running in the background. Love feels different when you grew up too fast. Let's talk about relationships. If being needed was how you received love as a child, then, as an adult, you might unconsciously chase the same dynamic. You're drawn to people who need fixing, people who are emotionally distant, people who feel slightly unavailable, not because you enjoy pain, but because it feels familiar. Consistent, stable love can feel suspicious, almost wrong. You might find yourself waiting for the other shoe to drop. Because when you grew up giving endlessly, receiving can feel unnatural. Being needed feels like love. Being valued just for existing, that's unfamiliar territory. Control isn't about power, it's about safety. Maybe you overthink decisions. Maybe you plan everything. Maybe you run through worst-case scenarios in your head before sending a simple text. People might call you anxious, perfectionistic, type A. But what they're really seeing is a child who once lived in unpredictability. Back then, unpredictability meant danger, chaos, emotional explosions. So now, your brain tries to control every variable, not to dominate, but to survive. The exhaustion no one sees. There's a specific kind of tired that comes from growing up too fast. It's not solved by sleep. It's bone deep. Because your nervous system has been on high alert since elementary school. Rest didn't feel safe back then. Rest meant things might fall apart. So even now, when you finally have space to breathe, your body doesn't quite know how. You're surrounded by people, friends, family, colleagues, and still, you feel alone. Not lonely. Alone in the sense that nobody sees how much emotional labor you're doing every single day. Managing moods, diffusing tension, keeping everything smooth. Like an invisible conductor of an orchestra, no one realizes you're leading. The success trap. There's also this complicated relationship with achievement. You accomplish things, impressive things, but it never feels like enough. Because somewhere along the way, your worth got tangled up with your usefulness. If I'm productive, I'm valuable. If I'm needed, I matter. And here's the cruel twist. Society rewards this. We celebrate independence. We admire resilience. We praise people who don't need much. But no one asks what it cost you to become that way. So how do you heal something that wasn't one big event? This is the tricky part. There wasn't one traumatic moment. There were 1,000 small ones. 1,000 times you were too responsible, too aware, too strong, and not allowed to just be a child. Healing starts with something uncomfortable. Grief. You have to grieve the childhood you didn't get. The version of you who could have been messy, needy, carefree. That grief doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. You are not a human doing. Here's the truth that might feel strange at first. Being needed is not the same as being loved. Your value is not measured by how much you carry, not by how calm you stay in chaos, not by how useful you are to everyone else. You are not a human doing. You are a human being, and being is enough. You're allowed to rest without earning it. You're allowed to ask for help without proving you deserve it. You're allowed to fall apart sometimes. And most importantly, you're allowed to be a beginner at being taken care of. Because if no one taught you how to receive love without performing for it, of course, it feels awkward. It's new. The child who saved everyone. That child version of you, they were extraordinary, resourceful, brave, strong beyond their years. They kept everything together when they shouldn't have had to. But they don't have to run the show anymore. It's safe now. Safe to let someone else hold the weight. Safe to rest. Safe to be soft. You've been gripping the world so tightly for so long. What would it feel like? To finally loosen your hold? To experience joy without earning it first? To be cared for without proving you deserve it? Maybe growing up too fast shaped you. But it doesn't have to define the rest of your life. And maybe, just maybe, it's not too late to reclaim the chapters you skipped.